2, 3, 4.
Good morning and welcome everyone. This is Jewish Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. We're streaming right now live on this wonderful college station. You can also listen to us at tunein.com and on the iHeartRadio app. And all week long you can find this great program reposted on Spreaker.com. Don't forget, right now you can actually see us on Facebook Live. That means go to Facebook, put in my name, Rabbi Pearl, and you'll be with us right here in the studio. So welcome, everybody. And yes, I'm Rabbi Pearl. And I can tell by those who are tuning in right now, good morning from Vermont. Good morning to Tom Schwartz. Good morning, everybody. I can see everybody really. Good morning from Dalton, Georgia. Harvey Kipnis is back in town. Jonathan Wolf, hello from Jersey. Are you wearing a jersey or are you living in Jersey? Hope you had a wonderful Pesach. And, of course, we're all listening, and it's the day after. So our question today is there life after Passover? I mean, come on already. How many pounds did you put on? Let's not get personal here. But, you know, I walked into the studio. You think here there's one big Seder going on over here. It's just one big order. Or is it out of order? I'm not sure. You know, today actually has a name. I want to talk a little bit about today and also about yesterday. The day immediately following the 3 pilgrimage holidays. So the day after Passover, which is today. The day after the holiday of Shavuos. The day after the holiday of Sukkot has a special name. It's called Isru Chag, which literally means bind the festival. Because today is binding us to the holiday. So in so many homes, everybody's bringing back the old dishes and getting back to bread and all the other things that we do. But today is kind of a interesting bound. This day is very much connected to yesterday. And appropriately, when we open up the Code of Jewish Law, that how do we recognize this day is through Chag, by adding something festival to the meal of the day. But what is the reason for this celebration? Why would we want to continue the celebration today? Last night at 8:11 in the evening, the holiday concluded. So what's the continuity? What's continuing today? We want to say hello to Anna Miriam, and Jonathan Wolf from New Jersey is complaining about too much gluten. All right. What can I tell you? You always like to complain. There's not too much, too little, not enough. How much? But I know that Jonathan is big into chicken schmaltz, so that's your fault. You wanted to have so much chicken schmaltz. That's how it is. What can I tell you? So, what is the significance? What are we celebrating today that it has a special name in the Jewish calendar, the day after this holiday, as indeed would be the same after the holiday of Shavuos and the holiday of Sukkot, called Isru Chag? Well, it has its source. We can trace it back to the temple times. When a person brought their required shlomim, there was a certain peace offering, he would be allowed to partake of its meat on the following day as well. So therefore, if a person brought the offering on the first day of the holiday, he could eat it on the second. Therefore, it follows, if one brought it on the last day, he could enjoy the special offering on the day after the holiday. But in a more deeper sense, along comes the Hasidic teachers and point out that even though we don't have the temple today, there is a special concept of binding yesterday, as I'll soon explain the significance of yesterday, but binding the holiday into this ordinary day. So Isru Chag means you bound the holiday that happened yesterday. See, on the one hand, yesterday was a special day of celebration. On the other hand, today is a regular day. Therefore, as an afterglow of the holiday, today is a bridge between yesterday's holiness and the mundane aspect of our life today. And we have the ability to draw down all the spiritual energies, all the blessing of the holiday into our everyday lives. So the day after a holiday, not simply we run away from the holiday, but a day to bask, so to speak, in the glory or in the holiness of what yesterday and the whole holiday of Passover represented to us. But what exactly was unique about yesterday? Of course, on the one hand, it was Shabbos. But on the other hand, it was the 8th day of Passover. And on the 8th day of Passover, in many, many communities, we have what is known as a Feast of Mashiach. The 8th day of Passover is traditionally associated with strengthening our hopes and our reflections on the coming of Mashiach. For this reason, in the synagogue we read a special Haftorah, a special prophetical reading that contains many prophecies that what the world will be like with the coming of Mashiach. And one of them is best known to all of us. I'm sure you all remember that the wolf will dwell with the lamb and the leopard will lie down with the young goat, which is reflection of how peaceful the world will be on many, many levels, not only amongst the animals, but also, more importantly, amongst human beings. So after 250 years, about 250 years ago, along came the Baal Shem Tov, the founding Hasidic master, and recognized that we're coming closer to Mashiach. And he instituted a custom which underlines the connection between the redemption and the 8th day of Passover. Yesterday in Hebrew it was called Acharon Shel Pesach, the end, but it's actually a reflection on the end of days, the peaceful end of days when Mashiach will come. So on this last day, when we read about it and discuss this, he introduced a special meal that's called a Mashiach Suda, the festival meal of Mashiach. Why would this be? You see, when you sit down to a meal, it becomes real. Mashiach Suda is intended to deepen our awareness of Mashiach and enable us to integrate this into our thinking process. You know, the 12th article of the Rambam's 13 Principles of Faith, there are 13 principles of Jewish faith, and number 12 is the following: I believe with a perfect faith in the coming of Mashiach. Even if he delays, I will wait every day for him to come. So, of course, we all, intellectually accept and believe in this concept, but it remains a kind of an abstraction. So when we sat down yesterday and we partaked in a Mashiach Suda special meal, this came and reinforced our belief in this principle, translating our awareness of Mashiach into a meal, which is a very physical experience, leading us to associate this concept of the coming of Mashiach with our flesh and blood. So the Baal Shem Tov came and he linked our awareness of Mashiach to the physical. Is very significant, because when you prepare, let's say you go to school, you prepare your test in line with what you're going to be tested about. So too, how do you prepare for the coming of Mashiach? Well, you sit down and you talk about it, and you learn about it, and you partake in it. And having a meal, in a more deeper sense, prepares us for the revelations of this era of the coming of Mashiach. See, what will happen, exactly what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? We are all going to see the holiness of God. We'll see how godliness is enclosed in the physical world in a very open, overtly way. And therefore, the sitting down to a meal brings into a very real sense. Chassidus adds to this that part of the preparation for this great revelation is to live with it, is to foreshadow this, and to, so to speak, since in the era of redemption, the revelation of godliness will be expressed in this very physical world. Therefore, it's fitting that in preparing for that, the revelation we associate it with our physical world. Right? When you're preparing yourself to go to a dinner or to a wedding, you dress appropriately. So how do you prepare for the coming of Mashiach? You sit down, you have a meal, and it becomes real eating and drinking. Now, therefore, today, the day after Passover, Isru Chag, when we bind the holiness of yesterday and today, we bring this into our mundane life. So, yesterday, Mashiach Suda, we sat down late afternoon, and we held this on the 8th day of Passover. The Torah actually commands us to celebrate Passover for 7 days. But now that we're in exile, and there's a certain degree of doubt regarding the exact date of the holidays, so what do we do to solve this problem? In determining the Jewish holiday, all of us living in exile, the sages added an extra day to each festival. In other words, the 8th day of Passover had once upon a time been an ordinary day, but through the power endowed by the Torah, we were able to transform it into a holy day. It was exactly what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. There'll be a similar transformation that will occur throughout the whole creation. Even the material and mundane aspects of the world will reveal godliness. So yesterday we celebrated with the Mashiach Suda on the 8th day of Passover, and which was once an ordinary day, now transformed, all in line with anticipating the kind of transformation that will characterize the era of when Mashiach will come. So I want to say this is beautiful, and I want to thank all those who are watching us and commenting. Good morning to Gail Cole. How did you like the Seders? And Steve Whites, thank you so much. And our good friends asked the following question: what's the connection between the 8 days of Pesach and Sukkot and Hanukkah? Right? We have all this 8 days. 8 days represents higher than nature. 7 represents the cycle of life, the normal aspect of a week, but 8 represents a step above nature. And that, of course, is symbolic of the fact that a Jewish boy has his circumcision on the 8th day, recognizing that despite the normal aspect, the nature of life, there's always something deeper about the personality that's beyond nature. Now, the Baal Shem Tov, he is the one who originated this custom of the Mashiach Suda. It's quite fitting, because he was the one who ascended on a particular Rosh Hashanah. He went up into the heavenly courts, and he found Mashiach, and he said, "When are you coming?" And Mashiach said, "When the well springs of your teachings will be spread outward." So the goal of the Baal Shem Tov was to prepare us for the coming of Mashiach. Therefore, it's appropriate that he was the one who instituted this special Mashiach meal that was part of his life, and it was part of our celebration yesterday. And that's what we're binding into this day. Now, understand, Chabad stepped in, like many other teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, and added another dimension to our meal yesterday. It was in 1906 when the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe added a new element to the Mashiach Suda. And this is what we did yesterday. We all had 4 cups of wine. And it is explained that just as we begin the holiday with 4 cups of wine of the Seder, which is a reflection of the past, so too we now conclude with 4 cups of wine during this particular meal. And that's what we did yesterday. So during the Baal Shem Tov's time, the main ingredient was matzah. We sat down to a meal, and we had matzah. But that was the tasteless flatness of matzah, which represents humility. Humility is a desire to transcend oneself. By adding the wine, which has flavor and pleasure, it symbolizes the aspect that we assert ourselves, right? Each one of us, just like each of us have our tastes, our particular choice of wine, so to speak, which is very much individual. So too, there's a combination, there's a balance between selflessness, a desire to transcend oneself, but to be able to impact that in our own individuality. So therefore, yesterday we combined matzah and wine during this special meal, teaching us that this self-transcendence does not require us to erase our personal identities. Self-transcendence may be accomplished within each person's individual nature. A person can retain his or her distinctive character identity, yet at the same time dedicate his life to spreading godliness instead of just pursuing some personal fulfillment. And that's what every one of us, coming out of Passover, all of us had special memories and special foods and special gatherings and celebrations. Now, what are we supposed to do the day after Passover? Take all of that and allow that, your personality, what you remember of Passover, what you've learned, what you've been inspired, and bring that to the wider world out there. Instead of just being personal, at the end of each day, a person should look at themselves and say, what have I accomplished to help the world around myself? What did I do? How much tzedakah did I give today? Tzedakah means taking one's resources, one's money, one's financial resources, and helping someone else. That is called self-transcendent. That's a problem that many people have. They're willing to give advice, free advice, but when it comes to actually taking what they think belongs to them and helping someone else, that's called self-transcendence. Not about just personal fulfillment. So once the person's fundamentally transform that will.